In other news tonight, New York City has now become the first in the U.S. to end what's called qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that shields government officials, including law enforcement, from being held personally liable for actions that violate someone's constitutional rights. Similar legislation in New Mexico has now made its way to the governor's desk there, and NewsNation's Michael Shore is joining us live with more on this story. Michael.
Rob, good evening to you from Los Angeles, California, a state that is also trying to do some legislation when it comes to qualified immunity and police reform. Look, when you heard Brian Enton's report about George Floyd, you also probably hearkened back to when there were protests after the riots and the protests in Minneapolis after the murder of Floyd. But what you're also seeing now are the fruits of those protests, right? Defunding the police was part of the vernacular of last year's election. Now we've moved into actual action, not defunding, but changing some of the police rules. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed the House. To be honest, it probably won't make it through the Senate. So states are taking the lead on this, and the one that's taking the lead since the George Floyd events in Minneapolis, the first one is New Mexico. It's called the New Mexico Civil Rights Act. Its centerpiece is the ending of qualified immunity in that state, and it has passed both houses of the state legislature.
We saw the murder of George Floyd. We saw the nation gripped with Black Lives Matter protests.
Democrat Brian Egolf is Speaker of the New Mexico House of Representatives and chief sponsor of this legislation.
Ending qualified immunity is one of the most important things that we can do if you want to give everyday Americans meaningful access to justice when their rights are violated.
Qualified immunity is a legal tenet that protects public officials from lawsuits that may allege a violation of a plaintiff's civil rights.
That states actually need to start taking responsibility, taking steps towards ensuring that their own citizens have access to justice, because the federal courts have essentially foreclosed that possibility in so many instances precisely because of the qualified immunity doctrine.
Peter Simonson is executive director of the New Mexico chapter of the ACLU, who helped author the bill.
The bill that just passed and that is now before the governor would give everyday people, everyday New Mexicans, the opportunity to go into a New Mexico court to argue for rights under a New Mexico Constitution, to be heard by a judge who is elected by New Mexicans.
But like so much legislation on this sensitive issue, the feelings were anything but unanimous.
This particular legislation, which is billed as civil rights protection, I don't think really does what it's supposed to do.
Republican State Senator William Scherer voted against the bill, saying it's about national politics.
Can you do it in a small state, figure out what the problems are, and then launch it off into a bigger state? I think that's what's going on.
Scherer also relying on a familiar refrain among dissenters here that New Mexicans are not making this change happen.
Most of their funding, most of their everything has come from out of state. So these are Californians or New Yorkers that are deciding New Mexico politics.
Speaker Brian Egolf pushes back, saying that the bill is uniquely New Mexican.
We created the New Mexico Civil Rights Commission, and we brought together retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, former federal prosecutors, state district judges, legal experts from across the spectrum.
While the lawmakers who crafted this bill here in the capital of Santa Fe say that it focuses on the entire public sector, the public does know, too, that this is a bill about policing, and it's a bill about policing statewide.
I see it as an attack on not just any public employee, but especially attacks on police.
Albuquerque police officer Toby Gallegos is president of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 1 in New Mexico's largest city.
We have a New Mexico Torts Claim Act. So when we are perceived to have violated someone's rights or broken a rule or law, they have the right to redress this in court.
Peter Simonson and the ACLU argue that Gallegos is correct, but that something stands in the way.
You can do that now in the federal courts, but again, you have to contend with this very stringent hurdle called qualified immunity.
Officer Gallegos says that legislation like this can get into the minds of police officers.
It slows our reaction down because people are less likely to get involved in those scary decisions where they have to defend someone's life, including their own.
Getting into the minds of public workers like the police may have been the intent. I asked Peter Simonson how the George Floyd case would be different had it happened in New Mexico.
But it would, in fact, give the family, for example, of George Floyd the ability to go into court, into a New Mexico state court, and seek some sort of vindication for those rights.
Speaker Egoff says he feels that this is a supremely important moment for his state.
I hope will be the legacy of this bill is that the rights for all New Mexicans will be not just protected, but will be clarified, expanded, and will be made real for everyone in this state.
Speaker Egoff told us that it's really important that it starts in New Mexico. They don't have the problems that other states have had with police, but they wanted to take the lead on this, and certainly they have. It awaits the signature of Michelle Lujan Grisham. Also, you can look at a state like Illinois just last week. Their House has passed this legislation. So this is going to be contagious. New Mexico just wanted to take the lead on this. Incidentally, those awards are capped at $2 million. That was part of the compromise that the Democrats and Republicans made before they sent this to Governor Lujan Grisham. In Los Angeles for NewsNation, I'm Michael Schur.